Hello, my friends. It is day 236, and we're reading Jeremiah chapter 51 through Jeremiah chapter 52. But before we get into the recap for today, I want to thank you for taking a moment to check out this video. Hopefully, you're finding the yearly Bible reading program to be incredibly helpful and exciting and encouraging as you strive to read the Bible every single day. If you have not yet accepted the invitation, please take a moment to check out the description box below. There you'll find the link that will take you directly to the YouVersion Bible app. And you can join a number of people reading the Bible every day and sharing feedback on things they're learning. So please take advantage of this group, and I believe you'll be blessed by it. So first, congratulations on making it to the end of the book of Jeremiah. We've made it through this tremendous book, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the last major prophet that we have, I think. All right, and so we are almost, nope, that's not true. I think we may have Ezekiel coming up. Yep, we got one more big one. All right. So we have the book of Ezekiel that we're going to have to study, but we're not too far away from the New Testament. Now, I want you to realize this is now August, and we're heading into the month of September, and we are still reading the Old Testament. That lets you know just how powerful the Old Testament is and how critical it is to understanding the New Testament. All right. So please, by all means, don't ever try to skip out on the Old Testament. You want to wrap your mind around what's going on there, and then you want to use it as a means of interpreting how to read and understand the New Testament. All right. So here we are in the book of Jeremiah, and we've come to the point, and I got to say, Chapter 51 actually could have been read with chapter 50, verse 21, and just reading all the way through chapter 51, verse 14. So it's kind of we kind of broke off, if you will. But the point that they're trying to emphasize here is the fact that Babylon is going to fall, and that there will be another nation that will rise up against her to repay or provide, if you will, to impute the vengeance of the Lord because of the way that she desecrated the temple. Now, this is so interesting. If you look at chapter 51, look at it. It says, Babylon has been a gold cup in the Lord's hand, a cup that made the whole earth drunk. So if you think about it, Babylon was an instrument that was used to chastise Israel and Judah. The unfortunate thing about what we're seeing here is that whenever a person or nation is used as an instrument, they typically fail to recognize what God is doing as to prevent them from being just as guilty as the ones they're chastising by the Lord's doing. So what they do, like we all humans tend to do, we get full of ourselves, we get proud, and we start exploiting the opportunity, the divine opportunities that God gives us, and then we become qualified for the same judgment that we were used to render to other people. And so in chapter 51, that's exactly what happens. This is why he says another nation is going to come up. And that idea continues throughout the 51st chapter, even while taking a brief intermission to praise the Lord for the coming demise of the oppressive empire. It goes right back into saying how angry and how much God is going to judge Babylon. Babylon is going to fall. Verse 41 of chapter 51, how Babylon is fallen. Chapter 51, verse 44, the wall of Babylon has fallen. So Babylon becomes a proverb, if you will, a proverbial, nation for what God does whenever he's judging a people. I want to make that clear because we're going to see the same terminology in the book of Revelation. And there's some debate on whether that refers to Rome or some other person. But if we're following the line of thought through the Bible, we'll see that this is often a reference to a pagan society who has been used to do something against God's people, but they did not realize the importance of reverencing him and acknowledging his involvement in the whole process. Okay, so when the idea of Babylon falling is presented in the New Testament, it's not their way of saying, oh, Babylon is back. It's their way of saying there's a new Babylon in town whom is deserving of the same sort of punishment that the old Babylon received. Okay. Now, chapter 52 speaks about the fall of Jerusalem, and it talks about the destruction of the temple, which is why when we read the New Testament and Jesus begins to talk about the fall of the temple, the destruction of the temple and the fall of Jerusalem, the destruction of Jerusalem, we see the obvious parallel. We can actually identify what must be going through his brain, his mind, his heart, whenever he predicts what's going on. And more importantly, what must have been going through the people's mind who heard this as they're thinking through the Old Testament scriptures and how they're opening up in their own life. So we see here in chapter 52, verse 28, the number of the captives taken to Babylon in the 7th year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign was 3,023. And then in Nebuchadnezzar's 18th year, he took 832 more. In Nebuchadnezzar's 23rd year, he sent Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, who took 745 more. So you have a total of 4,600 captive taken to Babylon. This is how we're going to get to Ezekiel and then eventually Daniel, because they are in the midst of this, right? So fun times ahead as we read through what is life like in Babylon. What an interesting idea or concept that we'll be able to actually think through. So let me know what you're thinking. How are you faring through all of this? Leave it in the comment box below and let me know your thoughts. Until next time, thank you for watching. Take care. God bless. And remember, live by the word.